and I'm on a mission to connect with every creative writer in the world. But I need your help. The world is constantly changing, which is why it's our duty. No, it's our responsibility to inspire creativity. My creative writing tips, tricks, and strategies are going to help you become a better writer. So that way you can beat procrastination. Join me on this journey to unite the creative writing industry. And let's inspire creativity in the world together. What does creative writing mean to you? Welcome to the Creative Right Now podcast. This is a live video podcast designed to help you elevate your writing expertise and experience as I sit down and interview industry professionals, working writers, published authors, and we really talk about what are the key insights, what are the learnings from their journeys so we can become better writers. We can improve our own stories and really get that storytelling to the next level. All right, and I'm so excited to get into this. Welcome, Atomic, my friends. Atomic, it's great to see you, my man. And Marta, welcome, welcome. Owen, glad to have you back, my friend. Excellent. And we got an exciting podcast set for you today. So with the video podcast, what's going to be a little different about this is I actually encourage you to ask questions throughout this podcast. Some of them will pop up at the time. Others will hold for the Q&A at the end. So we're going to be digging into some industry insight and some comedy expertise as we challenge, how do we tell a good story that makes people laugh? Today, we're going to focus a little bit more on the comedic side of storytelling and a little on the side of script writing and being a filmmaker. So I want to bring on, so today's guest is Mr. Josh Empuero. He is a writer, a filmmaker, and a YouTuber who enjoys creating short films that make people laugh. He is the co-creator of a series that premiered on Amazon and Tubi. Founder of Turbulent Studios, he is a lifelong filmmaker with over 40 short films and 100 videos on his YouTube channel at Josh Makes Movies, where he blends reality with comedy to serve up spoofs, jokes, and a whole lot of laughs. Please welcome my good friend, Mr. Josh Empuero. Welcome, welcome. And you get...
Oh, my. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's for me? I appreciate that.
The applause just for you, my friend. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. Hello, everybody.
So for those of you who don't know, Josh, I want to say we met way back during the college days. I'm like, how long has it been since we've been students? When we were both young, still up and coming filmmakers.
Yep. Yeah. I graduated in 2011, so I don't know when you graduated, but
I was like, I think I was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2013. I'm like, wow, how time flies.
Yeah.
We worked on and created, I know one of my projects we did was a web series. We did a little fantasy spoof web series that was so funny. Well,
it was fun.
Funny.
It was fun. Yeah.
I had so much fun working on it. Now, as I go back and look at it, the Ultimate Fantasy web series, it cracks me up so much. Yeah. Oh my God. If you ever want to check out the web series, it's at the bottom of my YouTube channel at Kauffman's Corner. And then Josh, I know you've done so much like writing, filmmaking, and comedy scripts and comedy telling over the years. I want to dig into that, into how we can really understand, like, how do we write comedy that really makes people laugh? So I'm going to challenge you with an easy question first.
Okay.
What is the secret to telling a good joke?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy, dude. I mean, it's just like, so in high school, I feel like is when I started kind of getting into, well, in high school is when I discovered filmmaking. I never really thought about filmmaking before. Okay. As a career or as even a hobby. I really loved movies ever since I was a kid, but I'd never thought about like me making movies as a career. But in high school, I got to know a lot of friends who were aspiring stand-up comics, or who were
Mhm.
just like funny. They were funny people in general, and I made friends with a lot of theater actor kids from theater, and a lot of the theater productions were comedy. You know, they were comedy productions. I never acted in any of them. I never went and was a part of that. But I knew a lot of the people. I was friends with a lot of people that were the actors in those things. So being involved in sort of a comedy type of environment with a lot of comedy minded people, it kind of started.
Mm.
I think it just kind of started rubbing off on me. And when I discovered filmmaking, it was kind of
Mhm.
like bringing all those things that I had learned, or bringing all those things that were in here now, and putting them on the page, and doing something like that. So yeah, I don't know if I don't know if there is a secret to that, or what it is. It's just like I like to focus on what's funny to me, on what makes me laugh, and I think there's a lot of stuff on my channel that don't make a lot of sense. Like if you're watching it from a strictly narrative point of view, like uh,
Mhm.
the protagonist goes on this journey, whether it's a minute long film or a 10-minute long film, and
Mhm.
there's something about it that you don't understand. I don't think that I was necessarily trying to make you understand. I just was making something that I thought was funny, and it made me laugh, and hopefully it makes you laugh too. You know, it's just I'm taking multiple stabs, I guess, at telling you. Some of them land with some people, some of them don't, but I'm proud of all of them, and that's the important thing, I think, as an artist, is if you're proud of the work that you're putting out, then that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally agree with that. I resonate with that because as a filmmaker or as a writer, a filmmaker, we see the world in one way. We have a perception of the world, and then we translate that through our writing, through the jokes, through the storytelling. I have like, if I try to tell a joke, Josh, like it falls flat half the time. I am not a me and comedy don't mix
Yeah,
unless it's like maybe accidental. I
yeah,
usually tell people I'm like 80% corny and maybe like 0.5% clever on occasion, if
gotcha.
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But it sounds like comedy has always been something that you've been inherently attracted to. Would
Yeah.
you, do you want to speak a little to that? Like, what was it about comedy? Like, why not go like more like the dramatic storytelling or like romance or something of a different nature? Why comedy?
I mean, I guess it has a lot to do with influence. Like, I
Okay.
mean, my dad is kind of um, how would you describe it? When you get to know, so like different, my dad has different like position jobs and stuff in the real world where he needs to be serious, but like in our family, and and when he has friends, or in his circle of friends or family members, he gets very comedic. My dad gets very like trying to make people laugh, trying to say things on purpose to make people laugh. And so sometimes
Mhm.
we'll see him in the real world, and then they see him at a party or something. It's kind of a shock to them, because they didn't know that he was such a playful type of person. Growing up with that all the time, I think definitely had some influence.
Okay.
Just like I said, meeting these comedians and stuff, definitely had some influence. The first movie I ever made, I wasn't there were parts of it that I was intending to be comical, but it was also it was so it, it's the subject matter was basically a courtroom scene where people were discussing the JFK assassination. It was for a U.S. history class, and there
Interesting.
were
And was
parts.
this in high school?
Yeah, it was my
Okay.
first thing
Okay.
I
So
ever.
back in high school, first short film. Okay.
Yes. And so it was supposed to be at least semi-serious, which we tried to be, but we also would throw in like a little joke here and there. And I remember not only did we have to make it, we had to show it to the class.
Okay.
And it was when I showed it to the class and people reacted and they started laughing at stuff that I had created, and I was like, oh
Mhm.
wow, this is really cool. This is like something I don't know if I've ever felt passionate about something like this before.
Aw.
And it was
Aw,
kind of
that's
like,
actually really cool. It's almost like it's unexpected validation
yeah,
that, like, you've
exactly.
created something and then people are suddenly laughing.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And I had intentionally cast a lot of like my friends that were really funny in real life. Like my
Mhm.
friends make me laugh a lot. Like one of the funniest one of my I mean I've known him for a really long time. His name is Marvin.
Mhm.
He's to me I've known him since I was like 6 or 7 years old. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met. But he doesn't act. He's not an actor. He's not a comedian. Nothing like that. But I
Mhm.
told him that I was making this thing, and and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it. I'll do it." And so he plays the bailiff in my first ever film. And there's movies on my channel that I'm still releasing that Marvin is still in. I still continue to
Wow.
work with him and bring him in because to me he's one of the funniest people I've ever met. But I don't think he's ever like tried to explore that as a profession or as a hobby or anything like that. But yeah, so there's a lot of like
Wow.
those types of things that help. And I mean, like I think it worked out in terms of like the class reaction to it.
Yeah, first off, thank you for sharing that. I like that actually made me think of something. And this is for like a lot of writers out there who are really like maybe aspiring, who are like, okay, maybe I'm working on a couple projects at a time. I know, Josh, that you always have projects, like you're always thinking of new ideas. You always have projects that have been filmed, projects that are in development, and the whole on and so forth.
Yeah.
If you could like look at your like whole catalog of ideation to filmed and already done, how many projects would you like guesstimate or like in your entire like process at any given time? Because I know you have a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So like released that are completely final on my channel, I have like about 43, 44 short films
Mhm. Okay.
on my channel. Um, Probably in different stages of being edited and finishing up. I have probably about 20 other projects. Most of them
Okay.
are shorts. They're all shorts actually.
Mhm.
Um,
And
and
just to clarify, when you say shorts, simply because YouTube Shorts is technically the vertical under 60 seconds. So shorts to
yeah,
you is like a
1 minute to
mhm,
20-minute film.
1 to 20 minute. Cool.
Anything in
Just
between
to
there.
clarify for our
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, no, I that's a good clarification to make because I'm not up to date on all this new YouTube stuff that keeps coming out. They update new things and stuff.
You're
I'm
like,
like,
Josh, do you still use MySpace?
yeah. So yeah, so I have about 20 other films that are completely filmed. They're completely
Mhm.
done. We've wrapped shooting and everything. It's just for one reason or the other, there's still a lot of editing that needs to be done, a lot of visual effects that need to be done, voiceover recordings, whatever. So it can get a little daunting at times. But
Mhm.
and surprisingly, not too many people have complained about it though. Like people that I bring in to get involved in stuff, like I'll get the odd one or two. They're like, where's this project? We filmed it 3 years ago. I'm like, I know, get off my back for a second. I have other things that I'm doing.
Like
But
it'll come out in 20,
Right,
29.
right, yeah. So yeah, so it's there's a lot of things like that. But I don't. I like working on I mean my brain just moves like that. It's
Mhm.
idea, go to this, go to that, go to do this, do that. If I write something that I'm really super passionate about, that I really like what's on the page, I'm like, we need to film this right now, especially if it's really easy. If it's like a
Wow.
one or two
Mhm.
page or a 3 page script, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I got to do this right now, so but I think it's just that, you as you if you commit to working on multiple projects at the same time, eventually you kind of come up with a system as far as prioritizing something over the next thing. Like for example, you mentioned the series. I helped create a series that has premiered on Amazon and on Tubi. It's called Red Sands. You
Wow.
guys can watch it for free on Tubi right now. It
Wow.
actually might not be on Tubi for very much longer, but I co-directed. I solo directed most of the first episode and
Okay.
co-wrote most of the first episode as well. That was my main involvement in terms of like writing and directing. The next three
Okay.
episodes were done by other people, but I also edited most of the first episode, and I did the visual effects for the entire four. It's a 4 episode series. Each episode
Wow.
ended up being
That's
about half an hour.
incredible.
Yeah, so about 30 minutes per episode type of thing. So I was the only visual effects artist on the whole
Mhm.
show. So on top of my writing and directing for the
Mhm.
first episode, I also had to focus on doing the visual effects. So what that meant was all of the shorts that I had been working on, or the stuff that were even things that were getting close to being finished, I had to put those to the side because there was a large group of people that were getting together to film this web series.
Mm,
We had some SAG actors involved in it, some like really good like people that have been on legit shows.
mhm.
Like my buddy TJ Wims, the main character, he's been on tons of shows.
Wow. Okay.
Carlos E. Campos, who played our villain, he's been on on Agents of. He's had speaking roles on Agents of Shield, on Lucifer, on
Okay. Yep. All
Westworld.
notable
Yeah,
shows.
yeah, absolutely. So we were getting this caliber of people involved in our little independent web series.
Mhm.
So that necessitated for me to be like, okay, well, I'm just doing these little comedy short films. I'm gonna put those to the side because I need to focus on this right now. This is more
Mhm.
important. This is more, my YouTube funny shit. That'll come. We'll get to that later. We'll get to that when we get to that. But this was something that kind of needed a lot more attention, needed a lot more work,
Mhm.
and it was a 2 year long process. So.
What I'm curious, Josh, was the entire so for the writing aspect of it, was the entire pilot episode written by the time you're like, okay, this is going to go on?
Yeah, so it's also kind of weird how that happened. So I wrote the pilot episode completely by myself, but I wrote it
Mhm.
as a short film. I never intended to make it into a series. There was no
Wow.
intent.
So you created it as a short film and
Yes,
then it
yes,
evolved into okay.
yes. And so that's kind of also why I got a little bit more. It started moving a little bit faster than I was comfortable with. But I was like, whatever. If you guys want to keep working on it, go for it. I'm not gonna stress out about it too much.
Mhm.
So from this initial pilot, um, the two main actors that I brought on board had never worked with each other before, and they enjoyed the process so much. T.J. Wims and Michael Baird, who are the co-creators of the show, they
Mhm.
enjoyed the process so much, and I cast them as brothers. They had never worked together before in their lives. I cast them as brothers, and I thought it would be a fun dynamic between the two. Having worked with both of them already separately, I was like, putting these two guys together is probably going to be fun, and it was. And they both were like, "We need to do this again. We need to do this again. We need
Mhm.
to write more adventures for these brothers to go on." I was like, okay, and that's how it kind of got started and kind of snowballed from there. So yeah,
Mm.
that's kind of sometimes things happen and you're not expecting it, you're not looking out for that, but you got to be open to opportunities and you got to be open to change.
And I'm curious, so for any filmmakers out there, anyone who's either who knows that they're going to have to network either with other writers, with actors, producers, directors, or whoever, how did you meet? Like you said that you had some names on there, like you had some big names. How
Yeah,
did you go from working on a script to suddenly I have these like named actors? Like
yeah.
what was that? Was that just
Well,
like Facebook message? Hello, will you be on my web series?
well, there is a little bit of that, to be honest. There is a little bit
Okay.
of Facebook stuff. Like um, Michael, the guy that the second lead of the show. I
Mhm.
initially just sent him a friend request because I saw him in a movie. I sent him another one of my friend's movies who had filmed something here locally in the high desert.
Okay.
So I just found him on Facebook and I sent him a request and he accepted it. So I just started talking to him and saying, "Hey, how's it going? I'm a filmmaker." And we went from there. We started working together from a Facebook message. I've just over the last 10 years I've become a very social type of person. I've become a very curious person. And so it's not always just about who you know, it's also about who they know. So Michael
Mm.
actually went to college with Carlos E. Campos, the guy that played our villain.
Mhm.
He went to he they studied drama together. They started acting together. Michael is
Mhm.
is a 20-year actor who's has 20 years of stage acting experience. So he started
Wow.
in
Okay.
college. He went to college with a bunch of these guys. So a lot of the main cast were actually college friends of his that he had met forever ago, and he got
Interesting.
them
Okay.
involved. He got them involved with the series. But my name is attached as a co-creator of the series, so it kind of looks good on me too. That
Wow.
all these people are coming together. Type of thing. TJ as well. I had met TJ through another writer director friend of mine on a project that we never actually got to do. We never made this project, but as a result of this meeting as a result of this project getting started with this other guy, he introduced
Mhm.
me to TJ, who he had met on the set of the Christopher Nolan movie where people run backwards. Tenet.
Oh, yeah. A tenant. Yep.
TJ is
The
TJ
movie
is
where people run backwards.
yes. TJ is in the background, and like the military guys when they're all running through the desert and stuff. He's
Mhm.
in that scene, and so he had so this filmmaker friend of mine who was also there introduced me to TJ, and we became friends, and we started talking about projects. And now me and TJ are like working on 2 or 3 different other things at the same time.
Wow, that
So
is so cool. And I
yeah,
just have to like let the audience know, of all the writers, of all the filmmakers I've met over the years, Josh is incredible at networking with people. I feel like every single time I talk to you, Josh, that you
yeah,
always have like 10 names. You always have like a bunch of people you know. I feel like if I put a production together tomorrow, you would have a bunch of people. You're like, all right, I have this, this, and this. And I'm like, that's amazing.
yeah,
I want to dig into the networking a little bit,
sure,
but I just want to take a moment and pull up a couple comments.
sure.
SK, what's up? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Thank you for dropping by. Excellent. And then we had we had some really interesting comments. Marta said, I've heard to make people laugh, you need to be very intelligent.
Never
That's
taken an
awesome.
IQ test. I don't know.
You're like, I don't know if comedy is a factor of intelligence, or if it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just a thing that happens inherently. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out comedy, so what do
Yeah.
I know? Let's see. So, and then John had a great question. He asked you, what are some of your favorite stand-up comics today?
I saw someone mention Mark Normand. I have seen. I do like a lot of Mark Normand. He's pretty good. I've seen some of his stuff. Um,
Yeah, I think John mentioned Mark Norman. He said Mark Norman has his comedy. I love. Yeah, John's one of our community writers. He's a satire, very very funny
Gotcha.
stuff, but
Yeah.
satire. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not really too connected to the stand up world of today. I'm not too much into it, but I know like if Netflix releases a Dave Chappelle stand up, I'm watching it. Like that guy is a genius. That guy is a comic.
Dave Chappelle is pretty funny. I don't watch
Yes.
stand up, but I'll watch Dave
Yes,
Chappelle.
yes. That's an immediate. I'm immediately watching that. And he just, it's like not. I think it was like 2 or 3 specials ago.
Mhm.
The one where he really pissed a lot of people off. I know that happens every time, but like there was one where it was like really big. I remember it dropped on Netflix, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put this on my watch list so I can watch it in a few days or whatever. And then
Mhm.
news stories in the next 2 days, news stories started coming out of like all these groups that Dave Chappelle was offending because of this one special. I was like, okay, I'm not going to wait a few days. I need to watch it now. That was like the best marketing they could ever give to
But
a
I mean, but that's like a marketing thing, right?
yeah,
That was probably the marketing
yeah,
thing of like the idea of all press is
right,
good press, essentially,
right,
right? It's
right,
attention.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, and but also to bring it back to the question, he doesn't do any stand-up comedy, but I think Conan O'Brien is phenomenal. I love everything that he gets involved in. Everything that he does is just really good. I was a big late night fan. I was a big fan of his show on TBS. I started
Yeah,
watching when
I
he was
missed that. You said who?
Conan O'Brien.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
I think like looking back at it now, like I just get in. I've gotten a lot of influence from him because he's not afraid to try stupid shit. It's like kind of
Mhm.
what I like how I label it, because that's what a lot of my shorts are. It's just like stupid shit, but you put
Mhm.
in a little bit of intelligence. You try to put a little bit of like a real life situation or an intelligent character or whatever, but and he it's funny, he talked about it on his last, I think it was his closing TBS show. He talked about it
Mhm.
in his monologue at the end. He said that was he was trying to kind of blend like stupid with smart, and wherever it was meeting somewhere in the middle, that's where he was trying to have like a lot of his comedy
Mm.
sketches, a lot of his comedy type of thing. And I realized, I was like, wow, that's what I do. That's what I do. And I've been influenced by him. I've been influenced by what he did. And then the stand-up comedian that I will always look up, and I will always watch. Unfortunately, he passed away, but his name is Norm Macdonald. His stuff is really
Mm.
good, and I'm sure there's a lot of, if you're into comedy, I'm sure people know who Norm Macdonald is. Fortunately, he died a couple years ago, but he was probably one of the funniest people I've ever seen on videos of and stuff.
Mm. Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. I'm not as familiar with the stand-up comedy world. When I think about stand-up comedy, I think the closest I get would probably be more like the night show hosts, like
Mhm, mhm,
Colbert, Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah. All those guys crack me up for different reasons.
sure.
But I think that's comedy as a thing of doing the news,
Right,
right? When I think of comedy specifically.
right.
So awesome. And let's see. We had a couple of the members hopping in and checking out your YouTube channel. One of them, Atomic, was calling out a long ways from easiest way to make strawberry ice cream. Did Josh, you want to was that a good video on
I
did you
thought it
teach us
was.
how to make strawberry ice cream?
I thought it was. I was just being a clown, you know. Have you seen it? Is it
Oh
something
man,
with
it's
you?
okay. If I probably did like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
If I put
Well,
up my original video, my
yeah.
very first video from this was shortly after I graduated, it must have been 2013, 2014. I look like such a doofus. I wore these like giant headphones and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be really cool if I wear these headphones and it'll
Yeah.
make me look like
Princess
super
Leia.
cool. And yeah, yeah. I was okay. You know, I was thinking like the radio show, like DJs when they had the headphones on the
Right.
side, but it didn't play like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, how it brings me back. So let's see. I want to get into by the way, Deborah, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. We have a lot of Norm Macdonald fans in
Yeah.
here.
It's fantastic.
And so I want to hop into the comedy aspect in just a second, but I wanted to touch on one last time the networking aspect because you are so good about it. Is there any insights that you could provide to our writing community on like just networking with people?
You have to not be afraid to just message randomly, you know, and
Mhm.
I built a
On any social media platform, on
on
any
any
platform.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I mainly did it through Facebook, but I mean, Facebook is becoming kind of a thing of the past right now. So whatever, you know, social media is big right now, that's what I would suggest you use to reach out to people. So I built a financial services business. Been licensed for 10 years, doing insurance and retirement services, and that taught me to go out and talk to people. Like if I wanted to be successful, I need to go out and meet new people and bring them into my network. So
Mhm.
using those skills, I brought them into what I really want to do, which is filmmaking, and I started using that to talk to people. So perfect example. I had messaged a couple of different people at different times. So the guy that introduced me to TJ that was on Tenet, I messaged him on Facebook. That was the first time we ever met, was on Facebook. So that
That's
was
so
that was a
cool.
connection. Yeah,
That is so cool.
yeah. And then I had messaged another gentleman, um, an actor friend. His name is Jay. I messaged him on
Mhm.
Facebook a while ago, and then I had messaged another guy named Nathan, just talking, just meeting them and stuff. I saw that they were into film stuff, right? So we were just talking a
Okay.
little networking, and then I forgot there was another guy named Andre. I don't remember how. I think we were both part of a filmmakers group on Facebook. So add yourself
Okay.
to film writers groups of your town. That's a tip I'd give you.
Okay.
Whatever city you're in, add yourself to those types of groups. And I had
Mhm.
met Andre on there. I think he had posted a question. He asked a question like, "Does anyone know how to do gunshot effects?" So I sent him a message. I was like, "Yeah, I know how to do it. You know, how complicated is it? Whatever." And so from that connection with Andre, a few months later, that thing I never did anything with that. But a few months later, he tells me, "Hey, I know you said you did visual effects. Have you ever done lightsabers?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
I actually made a Star Wars film like years ago. That still hasn't been released."
Yeah, well, it'll come out when episode 10 comes out,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And he's like, "Hey, I'm doing this Star Wars project. It's gonna be really short. It's gonna be really quick. I'm doing it here. Can you
Mhm.
come and be a part of it? Because I think we need someone to do the visual effects." I said, "Absolutely." So I go and I show up. I've never met Andre before. I show up at the park where we're doing it.
Mhm.
One of the actors that's gotten involved is this guy Jay, who I met on Facebook. I messaged him already on Facebook.
Okay.
The guy that's doing the boom mic operating is Nathan, the other guy that I messaged on Facebook that I had talked to before.
Mhm.
And the guy that's doing the director of photography, his name is Vic Mendoza. I had never met him. I never messaged him, nothing, but we met there. And now Vic has filmed a lot of my projects because of us meeting on
Wow.
this one Star Wars project that we met.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so this other actor also, Wes, I actually already I'd met Wes already before, but he was the other actor involved in that production. So I actually knew almost everyone that was involved. I had met them already on Facebook in one way, shape, or form. And those people, we've made a couple of, I've worked with them again ever since that one project. But it was a very easy thing for everyone to like trust each other. Everyone already kind of got along with each other because I had already done the work without even knowing. I had done the groundwork by messaging them, talking to them, saying, hey, this is what I do. This is my channel. What stuff do you do? And now we all help each other out. I think, I think if you live in LA or you live close to LA, it's a little bit harder because everything costs money. You got to go to find parking. If you're going to,
California is a very expensive state to live in.
It is.
I think a lot of our audience is probably a mix of the US with some international audiences. So probably like whatever like the largest cities are. Like East Coast, I would think like New York, Chicago, probably a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, like, I see a lot of people that want to pursue filmmaking that live in like small towns, live 2 or 3 hours away from LA. And I used to think like this too. I'm like, man, I'm like out here. What am I going to do? How can I pursue what I want to do? But it's so easy if you live in a small town like mine. I live in Victorville, which is an hour and a half east of Los Angeles. There's so many free locations out here. I can go outside with my camera and we can film I could probably film a feature film here in my hometown and not pay for a single location. You can't do that in LA unless a lot of people.
A lot of times in LA, like people will try to sneak in on filming locations.
Exactly.
I remember from my production days.
Yeah.
But a lot of times if you get caught, you're going to get fined a very large ticket.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of LA areas, you have to get a permit.
Absolutely. Out here, we've been stopped by the police once or twice. What are you guys doing? We're making a movie. Oh, okay. See ya. Like they don't. Nobody.
Have fun.
Nobody gives a shit. So you got to kind of lean into that a little bit, and some of the I've like Jay, the actor that I worked with, he's been in a few. The guy that was in the Star Wars production, he's been in a few legit TV shows as well, and he's acted now in some of my films. So that makes me look a little bit more legit because I'm working with this actor in my production, in my in the films that I'm making, and I've got these, like I said, this guy TJ or Carlos, but this guy Jay as well. I've got this caliber of people that have done actual Hollywood productions, and they're involved. They're being directed by me. They're saying my dialogue on my shorts. So it's really cool, and that just goes to show you like the type of the benefits of doing that type of networking and meeting with people. But yeah, definitely add yourself. There's so many Facebook groups now for filmmaking. Like if you just type in filmmaking and then your city, I guarantee you'll be able to see something. I remember I've never told this story before, but it's so burned in my mind. I wish I had
never before told story.
Yeah,
all right. Popcorn.
Yeah. So I was I think it was in an acting group or it was some type of filmmaking group, I think. And one of the guys commented, like someone had posted a video and it was really cool. And one of the guys commented and said, man, I want to be an actor so bad, but I don't know where to start. And somebody comments and says, where are you from? And the guy goes, I'm in Athens, Greece. And I'm like, I almost went, I'm like, that's where acting was invented, wasn't it? Like I was about to type it, like, you can't find acting groups in Athens? Are you kidding me? Like, go on Facebook, dude. Like, go talk to people. Good Lord.
Oh my god. But Josh, maybe acting died in Athens, Greece. Maybe it doesn't exist there anymore. Oh my god. I can't believe it. That's hilarious. I think it just goes to show that we live in a day and age where it literally does not matter where you live, right? Now, of course, you're going to have certain boundaries, certain restrictions based on area, of course, but everybody has a smartphone.
Yep.
All it takes is, first off, social media, connecting with people who are in the same area, and then just getting some friends or going out by yourself and filming, right? And I think that's why we see such a huge interest and change in the next generation of people who are less interested in doing a stereotypical 9-to-5 job, because they know, oh, I can go out and I can create my own stuff. I can make a TikTok video and then go make money.
Yeah.
It's like that's the age that we're in, the age that we're moving into. Whether or not TikTok exists in that next age is still to be determined.
Right.
But as I'm okay, so it looks like you already have a good vote of confidence here. It looks like it's a good time to release your stuff now because it can already beat anything done by Disney. I thought that would make you laugh. I want to show that to you.
It does. I
Atomic has a really great question. Have you ever collaborated with Matt DeVela?
Doesn't ring a bell. Is he out here in the high desert?
Do
people know where I am?
I don't recognize that name either, so I'm not familiar with Atomic.
I'm in Victorville, California, so I don't know if that guy is out here. I've never heard of him, but if he's out here, tell him to send me a message. I'd be happy to work with him.
Hey, there you go, Atomic. You'll be the transitionary to get a collab going over here. So I want to hop back into how do we make people laugh? Because I know such a huge focus of your journey is through making these short films on your YouTube channel. So I thought a perfect segue, a perfect transition is we're going to show one of your shorts called Good Neighbor. Let me pull it up on the screen. Let's see. We got the Good Neighbor. Perfect. So this was a short, Good Neighbor. And how long ago did you make? So this was done about 4 years ago. It's super short.
It was edited 4 years ago. It was filmed like 10 years
filmed 10 years ago, released 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yes.
And still getting traction.
Oh crap.
No, trust me, like it's fine. We can fix it.
No, this isn't cool. My coach said if I'm late to another kickboxing class, he'll make me do like 100 push-ups.
Look, just relax, okay?
How can you expect me to relax? I'm gonna be sore for a week if I don't get there on.
Trust me, I got State Farm. It's fine.
Thank God. Why didn't you just say so?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. What's up, Mickey? How's it going? Wait. Oh, shoot, wait, stop!
Wait.
No, that's my State Farm agent.
I was just trying to save you some money.
I am so sorry. He just came out of nowhere, and I'm so sorry. Do you need to go to hospital?
Yeah, dude, like, do you have any health insurance?
Yeah, he's right there.
The end.
Oh my goodness, Josh. I like that you we got State Farm and Affleck. I don't think you were too much of a friend of that Affleck duck in that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So was that just like a result of like, okay, I saw a State Farm commercial, I've seen Affleck, here's the idea?
Yeah, no, I don't think. Well, I mean, again, we did it so long ago. It's kind of hard to remember like where my mindset.
Yeah, like, this was about like 500 projects ago.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to say something popped into my head of like what like because that's how the commercial like the first 30 seconds is how a regular State Farm commercial plays out. This guy appears just out of nowhere, and it's like, what if you had someone who was jumpy and like got really scared by this agent that appeared? And so that's why I don't know if you could hear it, but I tried to set it up a little bit where the girl says, if I'm late to my kickboxing class, I'm gonna have to do X, Y, and Z. The coach is gonna make me do a bunch of push-ups or whatever. So that was my little attempt at a setup to see that this girl knows martial arts. This girl knows how to fight, right? So you combine that with the jumpy nature, so the guy appears and then she just immediately goes into attack mode. That was the thinking, the mindset behind that. The Affleck thing, I think, was just something a little bit later. It was like, how do I end it? What's a funny way to end it? Affleck does health insurance, so that was the thinking there. My mom had that duck puppet. I was like, maybe I could do something with that. Yeah. And that was me. I don't know if you guys caught that. That was me getting punched in the face with a duck on my hand.
That was definitely really, really funny. And I want to make a really good call out here. By the way, you should definitely make sure to check out Josh's YouTube out after the stream over at Josh Makes Movies. I wanted to highlight one of your most recent videos.
Yeah.
It's definitely not self-promotion at all. I definitely didn't star in it at all. I don't happen to be one of like the greatest voices in the video ever. But, But one of his, I know, Josh, one of your most recent videos, and I highly recommend that you guys check this out after the video. It's a little too long to show during the live stream, but the Oscars apology video, hilarious.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and that was like Jared said. There's a lot of voice roles in there. Jared is one of them, but I also want to highlight the main dude, Steve Milliken, and Drew Pearson, who played the two main actors in that. They did a phenomenal job as well. And yeah, I think it's I definitely think it's one of my best ones. So definitely please check it out.
I completely agree. And I think what works so well with your type of filmmaking, Josh, is that you do a really good job of blending comedy with these like real reality type scenarios in life. Even that example of like the Aflac and the State Farm, right? You're like, it starts with the realistic approach. Like that would actually happen. If somebody just popped up out of thin air, like, yeah, I would probably punch him too.
Yeah.
Right. And you do the same thing with the Oscars apology video, right?
Yeah.
The video itself starts and then like it looks like it's like a real thing.
Right.
So like what walk me through like this process. What does this process look like as we're now thinking about like how do you write stuff that makes people laugh? It sounds like it comes naturally to you and how you perceive the world, but what does the process look like from idea to finished film finally launched and edited?
So I think there's a writer that I follow who I recommend everyone should follow. His name is Michael Jamin. He's a writer. He's got a lot of really great stuff on Instagram.
I'm going to throw that in the comments, by the way. So you said writer.
Michael Jamin. Jammin, like how we're having a jam session, but with one M. Jammin.
Okay.
He's been involved with a lot of big like Hollywood shows and stuff like that. But
I remember, 1 M or 2 M's?
1 M. Cool. I remember. I think in one of his podcasts, he talked about like when writers come to him for mentorship or whatever, the first question he asks them is, "Do you write drama or do you write comedy?" That's the very first question he asks.
Okay.
And so I was when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because it's kind of like your brain is wired one way or the other, mainly. Like you can write both, you can be able to do that, but even he said, he's like, the writer that tells me I write both, I immediately think you write neither. I don't think you're good at either one. If that's your answer, right? So you need to have a definite answer as to which one, basically, if you're going to work. And it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. Like, oh yeah, I write both. I'm like, shut up, dude. Like you fucking, you're not serious, you know?
Well, I think that speaks to niching down, right? And especially as a writer, you can't be a writer who writes everything.
Right.
Now, maybe eventually, like when you have a big team and you get to a point, you kind of get to do a lot more of what you want. But if you're starting out and you say, I'm doing everything, then people don't follow you for one thing. As writers, we have to niche down at least in one general area of interest, right?
Especially if you want to build an audience.
Relate with that.
Especially if you want to build an audience.
Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah. Or especially for any of our like writers, book writers, readership, filmmakers and audience. Absolutely.
Right. So I was just thinking about that, like that your brain has to be hardwired one way or the other. That's kind of like where I kind of started is like my brain obviously is more wired towards comedy. Like if something happens in real life, my brain immediately starts coming up with, oh, how could I make this funny? What would happen here to make this funny? What would happen that would make me laugh? Right. That's where my brain immediately goes to. Someone else could read, like there's news stories that I've read that are completely serious, but in my head, it becomes a comedy movie. And I'm like, oh shoot, like that's really funny. Someone else could read the same exact news story and be like, this is horrible. This is a tragedy or whatever, you know, but my brain starts going, how do I make this funny? How can I make this into something funny? So I think there's that, but it's also the type of comedy, because even within comedy, there's so many subgenres and stuff, you know, like the things that make me laugh a lot, the things that, and some of the things that I've written, and I guess you could classify the Oscar short as this, is something where you have a situation that's so incredibly stupid, like it's a stupid situation, but the characters are all taking it 100% seriously. And you've seen those types of movies, you know. MacGruber. MacGruber is something that comes to mind. It's like it's such a stupid character. It's such a stupid thing. But all the actors are selling it. They're super serious about this. The most recent example I think of is Weird, the Al Yankovic story that came out on Roku. I
missed that. That was with the
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, right?
Yes.
Yep, Harry Potter.
It was so. That was one of the.
Was it funny? I missed out on it. Is it a good movie?
I think you have to like that style of comedy though. Like,
gotcha.
For
okay.
you might find it funny, but if you don't like this, like I'm going to take this ridiculous situation 100% seriously. If you don't like that, it's probably not going to be for you. But that's the type of thing that I like. And to me, it's one of the funniest movies I've seen in the last 5 years. In my opinion.
Is there a name for that type of for that like genre of comedy, or is it just like
maybe
realism?
Parody, I guess you could say.
It's parody.
Yeah, I would say I would classify, or maybe it's kind of parody or kind of a little bit of parody in it. But yeah, so I think it's just that type of ridiculousness that pretends ridiculous pretends to be serious. So that's kind of why that's kind of what I try to infuse into the Oscar short. It starts super serious for the first minute and a half. It looks like it's a very serious situation, and then the guy tells you what he's talking about, and it's like oh my god, this is so stupid. But everyone is like, we humbly apologize for this. We're very sorry for this. This whole thing happened, and it's just that's kind of, to me, that makes me laugh, and hopefully it makes other people laugh, but I don't know. For the audience, the small little audience that I've built, I think it does. But
so
that's
Josh. Let me ask for the script, for the writing portion itself.
Yeah.
Is it that like you sit down, you have the script, you're like, okay, I'm going to start with, this is the realism portion of it. Is that always like a thing that you do of like, all right, it's going to be real situation and then punchline or punch?
I think if it's
speaking to somebody who doesn't write comedy at all, I'm curious.
I think if it's that type of comedy that I'm writing, like where it's a super serious situation, blending it with stupidity, I think, yes, you have to start with the realism first. And so I get inspired by like real life events. The Oscar short was inspired by real life events. So it's
for anyone that knows, it was inspired by the slap.
Yeah. So
we all know.
Yeah. So definitely check it out for yourself. But yeah, I think you have to start with realism, and you have to start with that if that's the type of comedy that you're going to do. For other stuff, like I've written horror films before. I've written a dramatic film before, but at over and over again in this drama, like funny things happen because I'm just like, oh, this would be funny for this character to say, or it would be funny for something like this to happen that's completely unexpected. And I think unexpected things, you'll see that a lot in my stuff, like the guy appearing and then getting punched immediately. That's not something that you would expect to see, and I think that is comedic. I think that's funny to some people, at least. I think it's funny.
Well, it's almost like, it's like the way that I look at like dramatic writing. It's you're essentially subverting expectations by creating something that the audience isn't expecting based off what you've set up with the pre-existing world. Yes.
And so, yeah, so that's kind of what it is. But again, I don't think there's a way for me to go like step by step, like you got to do it like this, and this. It ends up getting a laugh. It's just that
it more just comes together as like an overall.
Yeah, it's just the type of thing that I've been doing now for so long. Like there's this really funny meme. I'm sure you've seen it. It's the Taika Waititi on an iPad showing Cate Blanchett something, and then you write whatever you want as the meme, right? You've seen that one, right? Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I saw someone that typed their own thing on that meme, and it said Falcon showing Doctor Strange where to open up the portal so that it could be a callback to his on your left comment that he made to Steve Rogers in Captain America, the second Captain America movie, the Winter Soldier. In the Winter Soldier, a Falcon says on your left, or Captain America says on your left when he first meets Falcon when they're jogging, right? So in Endgame, when Falcon is talking to Steve on the earbud, he says, "Hey Cap, on your left." And so it's like the meme is like, look, Doctor Strange, you have to do it right here because it's going to be a perfect callback to in the Winter Soldier when he said that to me, so that I can say it back to him. Like, I'm already creating the movie in my head. Like, this is the conversation. Like, to me, that conversation is hilarious because it's so stupid. It's so like there's like no, it doesn't matter to any other character in this universe, but to Falcon, it has to be like this so that he can repeat the line back to Captain America, on your left. You know,
so do these like comedic moments come as a result of poor writing and poor life situation?
I mean, I don't necessarily consider that poor writing. I thought it was. I love that part in Endgame. That was one of the.
No, okay, let's clarify. Those are both great movies, but
Yeah.
I mean those specific scenes, like missed opportunity from the writer's perspective.
Yes,
Absolutely,
I do see that. I do think that a lot. Like, I'm watching a movie and I'm like, oh, it would be kind of funny if this happened, and then that doesn't happen. I'm like, okay, let me write that down for me. Like, later on, I'll do something with that. You know, so definitely.
Awesome. So as we're thinking through the comedic process, Josh, I'm curious. So if you could, I want you to put yourself in the mindset of a new writer, brand new writer who loves comedy. Let's say that you had unlimited time, no responsibilities, and unlimited resources. What would you create? What would you do?
I'd write a series. I'd write movies. I have tons of ideas for movies and web series that I can't get to because I'm still writing other ones, or I have family responsibilities. I'm married. I have 3 kids, you know, so got a lot of stuff on my plate.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I got a cat who hates people, so a little different.
But if that was me, if I had unlimited resources, I'd just start writing. I'd be writing every single day. I'd watch comedians or movies that make me laugh to kind of help me get inspired and do things. I'd outline a lot. I'd sit down and say, if I'm going to make this show, what is it going to be about? What are the characters? What are episode 1 look like? All that. I'd be doing that.
And you would do a series over a film if you were to like pick the first one to go after.
I feel like I don't know. That's a good question. Like right now, the spot where I'm at now, I've never made a feature film, or I've never finished a feature film before. I'll say it like that. I started one a long time ago, never finished it. But I think also right now, like the stories that I'm very passionate about telling right now are more long form. So a series would probably be a little bit more. I think it just depends on like where you are mentally, where you are as an artist.
So you think it's really like what the idea is partially, and then what actual amount of time you can invest into it.
Right, absolutely. And Netflix has been releasing a lot of limited series, like 10 episodes, like an hour long each episode. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I want to tell a 10-hour story. That's
yeah, that'd be great, right? Like, and that's a bit of like an older format where like when we were younger, a lot of those hour comedies, the half-hour comedy was generally like 20 to 24 episodes. The hour comedies weren't as prevalent, but when they were, I think they were like 10 to 15 on average. But that was before the age of streaming, right? And now everything, you binge a whole series at a time. Right.
And so that like streaming like that excites me. A lot of people, they think it's the end of cinema and all that stuff. And maybe it is. There might be some truth to that, but streaming excites me because it's like that's all I've been doing for the last 15 years has been putting stuff on my channel, on my streaming service as YouTube, So the fact
I think that's just the next age, right? Like we've been in the streaming age now for what, 10, 15, 20 years maybe, when we think about the age of streaming. And now we're at a point where people, I mean, like the amount of people who actually watch broadcast television is so little. But most people, when they think about watching TV, they think about I'm streaming something on an app, or what's becoming more prevalent is I'm going to go watch YouTube videos. I'm going to go watch influencers online, people who actually are talking about things that I care about. We're seeing a lot of that in this current and this next age and trend. Okay, so I want to this is actually a really good point to bring up a Q&A. So I've seen a couple of questions pop up throughout the chat. If you have a specific question for Josh about writing comedy, about the process, or about anything that you would like to know, throw it in the comments, and we'll throw the question up on the screen. Josh, I actually have a really great question for you to start out with. So you spoke to having a family life, and I know a lot of writers in the community and a lot of writers that I speak with have families, generally have 9-to-5 jobs, have a lot of responsibility. How do you balance responsibility with pursuing your passion just over time? Because like that's hard, and that's not something that I can resonate with, at least in the family responsibility level.
Yeah, it takes a lot of getting used to, like I was telling you, like right now my kids are here, but my parents are watching them. They're playing with them. So that's the only reason I'm able to do this right now, is because my parents are taking care of them. So it depends on like you having a schedule, things like that. Like normally my writing or editing or what have you happens at night once the kids sleep. But there's a little asterisk at the bottom of there, if I'm not exhausted. That's
hard. It's like, how do you find that energy? Like,
right,
I could only imagine.
So there's a lot of things that come into play. But having, a supportive spouse, which I do, thankfully, she's my wife is very supportive of my, doesn't necessarily think I'm that funny, but but she's supportive of me.
Your wife doesn't think that you're that funny.
Yeah, go figure.
Does maybe that just keeps your ego in check?
Yeah, it does for sure. But she allows me the time that I need to do that. Like if I make the plans ahead of time, a week in advance, hey, this is the day that I need to film a project. I'm going to be filming on this day. She's like, okay, then as long as it matches up with her schedule, she's got the kids, I can go and do this project. And it's not an entire day. Usually it's only like 4 or 5 hours sometimes that I'm making something. So it just depends on communication, depends on scheduling, things like that. But yeah, so most of my creative stuff happens at night when the kids are knocked out.
Okay. Great advice, by the way, because I know a lot of writers here in the community have families.
Yeah.
Right. And I know like how difficult it is how do you find the energy? If I worked for 8 hours, dealt with the kids and my wife or spouse for the last 4 or 5 hours, like that's hard.
Right.
It's absolutely hard. Awesome. So it looks like we have a good question here. John was asking, what are some of your favorite comedy movies?
There's a few. I'm a big Monty Python guy. I think the Holy Grail is probably one of the funniest movies ever made. A lot of stupid comedy in all Monty Python stuff, but in the Holy Grail specifically, there's a lot of
Monty Python, absolutely hilarious. I remember watching those when I was growing up.
Yeah. So that's one that sticks out. A more recent example, it's actually kind of not so recent anymore, but Little Miss Sunshine. That's a
Little Miss Sunshine was really funny.
Yeah,
that was a really funny indie film, and I actually met, like, this is random. That you brought this up. I met the director and the producer because I went to a screening for that, and when I was in Palm Desert one time. I wasn't at a point in my life where I was good with networking with people. I wish I had just pushed myself to go up. I was like, oh, that's cool. Hi. All right, goodbye.
Yeah.
Clearly I should have brought you with me, Josh. There was no missed opportunity.
I probably wasn't that good back then either, to be honest. It's been mostly the last 10 years. But yeah, Little Miss Sunshine is really good. Napoleon Dynamite, that's just, there's so much stupidity in that movie that's just so funny to me. I think it's fantastic. But yeah, things like that. Those are like the ones that come to mind. I think one that's unintentionally, well, kind of intentionally, but not so much, or not trying to be, but it becomes an unintentionally funny, is the 1993 Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's just such a phenomenal movie. To me, I love that movie.
It's a good classic.
It's Absolutely. So stupid. It's like, it's so bad that it's good to me. So that, like, unintentional type of stuff like that, I think that's really good. Crank 2, High Voltage with Jason Statham, completely balls to the wall action movie. But if you really start to think about like what's going on screen, it's just some ridiculous shit that's just going on and on and on, and it's so funny. It's so good. I love Crank 2, High Voltage. It's such a great movie.
I think I only saw Crank 1.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure he got cranked in that.
Yeah, Crank 1 is fun, but Crank 2 is just a phenomenal movie. I love that movie.
Awesome. Let's see. And then we got another question. All right, you won't be expecting this. What is your favorite color? He's prepared to fight. I'm gonna give you why. Why?
I don't know why green is my favorite color. It just is. I like pistachio ice cream. I think it's one of my favorite ice creams. I love pistachios. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
But I mean, based off your YouTube history, I thought it was strawberry ice cream.
Sorry, excuse me.
Awesome. So it looks like we're getting a lot of good comments in here. We're getting a lot of touches, a lot of favorite movies actually. Raising Arizona, A Fish Called Wanda.
Raising Arizona is great. A Fish Called Wanda is fantastic.
Mhm.
Both are great movies. Not necessarily my favorites, but they're both great movies. They make me laugh for sure.
Let's see. We got a reference to Tyler Perry. Does a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah, I've only seen I think Diary of a Mad Black Woman, but I thought it was great. I laughed my ass off. It was good.
Oh man, I was like, I wish that I could like understand how to do comedy effectively. Like, I wish I was funnier. I know I started working on a comedy script, but not quite there. Josh, do you have any recommendations for me or any new writers on like
about comedy?
On like learning how to do comedy? Is it just a matter of like watching things that make you laugh?
I think that's where I would start. Like, I don't know. Again, it's very weird to kind of think about like what's the blueprints for writing funny stuff. What's the blueprint for getting someone to laugh at your stuff? I think it's just finding what you think is funny. I think is the most important thing that you gotta figure out first, because then when you find something that makes you laugh, now you can try to emulate that with your own writing. So I think that's kind of like what happened to me with Conan, with watching Conan and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's hilarious. That's really good, and that bled into my stories and my writing. So just getting into that niche for yourself, finding out what part of what exactly do I find funny, and how do I emulate that in my own writing.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's see.
Did you see that comment?
I know. I was like, let's see. I'll read it. Josh, my boy.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Are you a soft drink, sir, or ma'am?
Fanta came to support you. So as we're hitting the hour mark here, and before I wrap up and hop into our writing sprint, I have one really great question for you. If tomorrow were your last day on Earth, let's say that you got tricked by a little boy and you fell into a hole and died, and you could leave one final quote for writers to remember you by, what would it be?
I mean, if it's for strictly like film screenwriters, because that's what I do. I've never really written a book before or anything like that. I've written a few short stories, but nothing crazy. But if it's specifically for screenwriters, it's definitely the screenplay is the most important part of the filmmaking process. Just it's just what it is. And so that would probably be my quotes, but my quote, but my supporting statement to that is, if you watch, like for me, I watch lots of movies that come out, and I think like I'm watching a lot of Hollywood movies, and 95% of the stuff that I see on screen that people complain about, this is so dumb, this is ridiculous, Hollywood is out of ideas, we're just doing repetitive stuff, it's all reboots and requels and sequels and all that stuff. Like all these, there's probably credence to all of those complaints. But I'm watching 95% of the things that I don't like about movies nowadays. I'm watching it and I'm like, another 6 months working on the screenplay would have greatly improved this movie. Another pass, another draft of the script would have been this. There's so many phenomenal concepts. Netflix has made a lot of phenomenal concept movies. And the execution is It's
Yep.
completely wasted, you
Well, it's
know?
because we have to think about what is Netflix's goal, right?
Right.
Netflix's goal isn't to produce quality. Netflix's goal is to cater to shareholders and produce content that people will subscribe for.
Right.
People don't subscribe for high quality, they subscribe for minimum level
Right.
binging experience. And I think that's what sucks, right?
Yeah.
And that's also like, I'm glad you brought that up because that resonates with my mission to help writers tell their stories with the writing community and get it out there, because like you don't have to be a good writer to be successful, but you can have help along the way, so that way your stuff's actually as awesome as possible.
Yes, exactly.
So
So spending all the time on the story. A lot of people are like, well, how long does it take you? Like I've been asked, well, how long does it take you to write a good story? And I'm like, well, it takes as long as it takes for that specific story. You know, it's not. I can't just give you like an ETA on when my script will be done. Whatever the story it is that you're telling, however complicated or uncomplicated it is going to determine how long you should spend writing it. And that's why I think a lot of like my longer form stuff, I think a lot of like the stuff that I'm working on right now that I plan to turn into feature films or 30-minute video limited series or web series or what have you, I'm taking a lot of time on it. I'm spending a lot of time on it because the story deserves that. The characters deserve you taking your time on getting the story right. And it might sound like conceit, or not conceited, but it might sound like, oh, whatever, like you're this big writer guy, you haven't even done anything. I'm like, you're right, I haven't done anything. But I remember that was a conversation I had with someone once. Was he was telling me, well, it's not fair to the actors if we don't get the scripts done on time. And I said, excuse me, it's not fair to these characters if we're rushing through the process.
Okay?
So
Like
I'm sorry,
I
actors.
completely agree.
I'm sorry to the actors about that. But you can make that decision if that's what you want. But my decision, my priority is going to be on the characters and the story.
And I think that's one of the reasons that we connect so well, Josh,
Yes.
because we both believe in the story itself.
Right.
That's part of the experience.
Right.
Well, Josh, I just want to thank you for joining me today. Like, I always love chatting with you, and I'm always so impressed, not just by your networking, not just by what you've done, but by your consistency and by your like steadfastness of like, I know you and I know you're going to be a filmmaker your entire life, and you're going to keep tracking one film, one idea after the other. So thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. And for any of you here in the audience who want to know more about Josh, I just dropped his YouTube channel down in the comments. So it's also his YouTube channel, the Oscars video, and his Instagram are down in the YouTube video description below. If you want to go check out more about him, definitely make sure you subscribe. Josh is going to keep coming out with new videos, right? Not shorts, new videos and new films. And he's an awesome filmmaker.
And I respond to Instagram DMs also. So feel free to message me if you want to talk. I'm an open book.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were talking about earlier, and like Josh mentioned, all it takes is reaching out with a single message, right? On any social media platform. Yeah. So awesome. 100%. And by the way, if any of you found value from this stream, make sure to follow and subscribe. Podcast every single week, right? Where we bring on new writers and published authors and just other working filmmakers like Josh, like Mr. Impuero over here. So make sure you tap that button and you come join the community. And Josh, like I'm sure and I know we'll be working on some projects together in the future.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, my friend, I'm going to let you go. We're going to hop into a writing sprint right now. We'll do our AI generated writing sprint, but thank you so much, my dude.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right.
You
Take care, my man. All right. So, wow, that was so cool. Oh, I've known Josh for a while, and Josh is a really awesome filmmaker. Definitely make sure you go check out his stuff, subscribe to his channel. if you haven't done so already, because he is a lot of fun. And when it comes to comedy, like he's very humble about his experience, which I absolutely love. But like you watch his stuff and his stuff is really funny. Right. So like definitely join him on the journey. That is so cool. Well, I'm sure and I know we'll have a collaborative project in the future. So stay tuned. And that's what I got for that. Now, as we're wrapping up the podcast portion of this stream, I just want to say like thank you so much for joining. Thank you for commenting and thank you for being a part of the conversation. We're actually going to be hopping into the next segment where I'm going to be doing, y'all know, we can't call ourselves writers unless we're doing a writing sprint, but we're going to do our fun writing sprint. We're going to do our chat GBT writing sprint, and we're going to come up with a prompt, or I'll write in the prompt. We'll get an image, and then we'll do the writing sprint together. 20 minutes. Feel free to join along if you want to get some writing done. Super inspirational. I know a lot of you a lot of you writers here in the community, you've written some cool stories as a result of these sprints. So I wanted to continue up this trend as I get into this. So let's see, let me throw that up. I got to adjust my screen here so I can get everything going on my end. Bear with me uno momento. And for those of you, let's see. All right, so I got writing, we'll go here. And I got ChatGPT pulled up. Let me pull up the screen. Perfect. All right, so I got ChatGPT pulled up on my end. Once again, we're just going to do a very simple writing prompt, but clearly, like, we got to do something that's comedic today. So we're going to give ChatGPT. We're doing a live writing exercise where you will create an image that we will use for inspiration for a 20-minute writing sprint. So I'm just giving it the background of what we're using it for. Can you please generate an image that has the following: a clear protagonist. And if any of you here in the audience want me to include anything specific on this in this writing prompt, drop a comment. Awesome. I'll let Josh know. That's super sweet. Yeah, his movie was really fun. His movie was definitely really fun. Awesome. Let's see. Can you please generate an image that has the following: a clear protagonist. Let's see it. Clear protagonist and an antagonist. A clear obstacle. A clear thing that serves as an obstacle. An item that serves to either help or hurt the protagonist, and make the theme comedic. Right? Let's like stick to like the comedic nature of this experience and see what we come up with. Atomic, you actually bring up a really great point. So assuming that the sprint stories are probably shorter, it might be fun to hear a couple of them from the previous week after the current week sprint. That's actually a really good idea. That is an absolutely phenomenal idea. So I'm glad you brought that up. We actually didn't do our podcast episode last week. We skipped the last 2 weeks before I hopped back into this. I think I'd actually love to start doing that moving forward on our future podcast episodes. I'm actually Atomic. So those of you, I know a lot of you guys who are here consistently, I'm actually working on a community thing right now. So that way I can create more of an interactive experience with you guys. For those of you who are like want to join me along in the writing journey, and or when you're doing like writing sprints, and a way for you to be able to share. So I'm working on it and it's coming, and I'm actually going to be using this as part of that process. And I'm going to, I think, doing these specific writing sprints as a result of this ChatGPT exercise on future podcast episodes is a brilliant idea. So thanks for that, Atomic. That's really cool. Okay, and then let's see. So I think that's good. Let's see. I guess can't really see it that much. So the prompt I put in is, can you please generate an image that has the following: a clear protagonist, an antagonist, a clear thing that serves as an obstacle, an item that serves to either help or hurt the protagonist, and make the theme comedic. So let's see what Chat GBT generates for us. So while I got that going, I got to pull up all the writing prompt or my word processor. Let's see. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. So we got. I guess I guess we're going an animated nature in this one. I think that's looks like that's what it gave us. Interesting. Well, there's some funny things. I don't know if there's funny things that's actually in it or funny things as a result. I don't know if I'm laughing with it or at it. Okay, so I'll do that as one image, and then we're going to give me, let's do a second one, so that way you can pick from one of two. Please give me a second image, same second image with the same guidelines, same image using the same guidelines, but in a completely different style. Perfect. So we'll do that. I was like, all right. So we got this one that's like an animated thing going on here. So that's what ChatGPT gives us when we ask for comedy. All right. So that's it. I got my timer. I just got to pull up my word processor. Perfect. And I think that's going to be good. Interesting. We got some really interesting comedic ones again. I'm like, all right, what? I like don't even know what to think of this. All right, this is the one we're using of these two. Okay, clearly we're going to use this as a animated style. I'm gonna. I don't even know what to make of this. This cracks me up. Okay, this is what we're doing. Okay. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm just saving the images right now so I can pull them both back up on the screen, and then we'll get started. Okay, so I got one, and then let me get the screen set up. All right, so it looks like we got that right now. It looks like it's taking a second, maybe freezing up. Oh. Okay, so I got 1 and 2. It looks like it does not want to load the images for some reason. Yeah, it does not want to load these images. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do it a different way. Let's see. This is what I'm gonna do. What I'll do is I'll pull each of them up in the web browser itself, since it looks like it wants to give us problems. Okay, so I got it. So we'll do that. Yeah. All right, and then I got this one. So bear with me. I'm just adjusting the screen because the formatting's been kind of funky. All right, we'll do that. And then I got this one as well. Perfect. And I think you guys can see both of those. Awesome. Nope, let's not do that. Awesome. And I think we got this. Yeah, perfect. Little interesting way of doing it, but we'll make this work out. All right, so these are our two images here. I got both of them here on the screen, making sure y'all can see both of them. Perfect. All right, and then I got my writing timer sprint set up. Awesome. And I will adjust my word processor, and then we will get started. Okay, so here's the writing sprint. We got 20 minutes. I used the prompt. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're just going to go for 20 minutes and see what we come up with. You can use one of the two images. Let's see, and I will adjust that on the banner. So writing exercise 20-minute free write using an AI-generated images inspiration. Perfect. Let me just throw up some music. Here we go. I got our playlist. All right. All right, let's see what we got. So I'll just start with free write exercise. I'm gonna title it, blow it up so it's y'all can see. So feel free to join along if you want to get some writing in. Yeah. So feel free to join along if you want to try this out, see what comes with it, or kick back, relax, and I'll see what I write. Use either the images for inspiration, and let's give this a shot. All right, we got 20 minutes on the clock, and it's time to write now. All right. And that wraps up our writing sprint. 20 minutes writing sprint. Wonderful. And we got that 20-minute exercise. Wonderful. Fun, fun, fun. So that was interesting for sure. I did not know what I was going to come up with. I think I have the start. I think I have the good, maybe first half. I got through about half of this, some type of spoof. Like, I don't, whether or not it's funny is anybody's guess, but we'll see. Definitely. Hey, what's up? This girl likes turtles. Welcome to the stream. We actually just wrapped up a writing sprint, based off this free write. Let's see. So I guess I will read this. This isn't a full story, so I guess we're going to see what we go, how this is going to turn out from here. Okay. So obviously I used the left image, and this is what I came out with. My free write exercise. He zapped into existence in a manner most unexpected. Am I a cartoon? Greggy cried. His childish pitch went up 7 octaves. He covered his mouth, watching in horror at the multicolored blobs of creatures surrounding him. Not only had he poured it into an animated existence, it looked to be one where he was now the center of attention. Hello, anyone? And let's welcome our new contestant, Earthworm number 99, the moon announced in a deep voice, most unexpected. Greg's eyes dropped by a mile at the sight of the moon, which hovered just outside the oval room in space. Greg was so shocked by it all, he didn't even know where to begin. A talking moon, alien blobs, space, or the fact that he stood on a paneled floor with various panels lighting up in a spontaneous manner. You're going down, a tiny snotty-looking blob blurted out, who was maybe half his size. Literally, he followed up with a bellow of laughter. Greg realized they were both standing on their own circular platforms with a single cord-strewn lever that could be pulled one way or another. And as usual, Earthworm number 99 is dazed and confused, the moon blurted out. Never been spaced before, have you? The moon asked what sounded like a rhetorical question, but before Greg could offer a response, of course you haven't. Worms can't fly. A roar of laughter, which sounded like a dog mucking about in a tub of jello, echoed from every corner of the room. Greg gulped at the variety of multicolored blobs laughing at him. Greg raised a single finger into the air. A question, what is... Ooh, tough luck. Questions must be earned. But if you have to extricate, might want to save us from that horror until you're ejected. Ejected? Greg gasped. Question number 21. What is the following object? The moon asked, directing it clearly at the snot green blob. A rock, a rock, a rock, Snot Blob blurted out. Just like the brain of Earthworm here. Again, this was met with a roar of gelatinous laughter. Correctamundo! A rumbling sound could be heard, causing Greg to look over his shoulder. 2 of the panels on his side of the room dislodged and ejected into space. Greg slowly turned back to face forward at the horror of what he had been thrown into. So much for trying to make a snowball machine. How was he supposed to know it would break the laws of physics and wind him up? Question number 2. Where are we located right now? Greg shouted out. Wherein? A wad of green slime shot in his direction by Snotty Blob, causing him to falter. Space! 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 Correct again! Wow, our very own is on a roll this evening. No surprise after winning against the last 20 Earthworms. The moon spun around in circles, joining in on the roar of laughter with the massive alien blobs. 20 Earthworms? Greg choked. Was he going to die here? He still hadn't had his first kiss. He still hadn't collected the first edition of Spider-Man. How was he supposed to die if he didn't know the ending of Spider-Verse? And that is all that I got, my friends. Wonderful. So I think I got half the story there. Whether or not it's funny is anyone's guess. That's what I got. Aw, thanks. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So definitely what I would say, if any of you want to join in and you want your stories read, shoot me an email with the writing prompt. And what I'll do is I will throw up, Atomic suggested a really great idea. I'll include these as a segment on reading when I get to next weekend's podcast episode. So this girl likes turtles. It sounds like you wrote something too, which is super awesome. I'll throw my email in the comments. So email me at Kauffman@thecreativeghost.com. ghost.com. So shoot me an email there. And if you want to send your excerpt or whatever story you wrote for the free write, I'll read it off in next Sunday's episode of the Creative Right Now podcast. So super fun. I would love to read all of it. That was an interesting experience for sure. Comedy is not usually my go-to, so I'm glad I was able to come up with something for that. Awesome, and that is what we got. So if you've enjoyed the experience, make sure to follow and subscribe to the channel if you want to be alerted when I go live. I stream live daily, Monday through Friday as our casual writers group. We also got the story time stream where I will do readings of best-selling novels. We have our Saturday story and critique show where writers from the community can submit their stories for live readings and critiques. And then obviously our Creative Right Now podcast, where I will be back for another episode of the Creative Right Now podcast next Sunday, as we're going to dig into how do you get published? And that will be a lot of fun. So we'll be getting back. Make sure you're subscribed and you'll be alerted when I go live. And that, my friends, is what we got for today's stream. This girl likes turtles. What was the prompt for this? So the prompt, I literally just put in a generic writing prompt into ChatGPT, and those images that I had up on the screen before is what we used as like inspiration for the free write. Because the first half of the podcast portion of the episode, I interviewed at Josh Makes Movies, and we talked about writing comedy and how do we bring comedy to just to our storytelling. And we had some absolutely great conversations. So I know you're over on Twitch. Definitely make sure, Turtles, this girl likes turtles, that you check out the replay once the stream ends. Go back and check it out. There's a really great conversations. Definitely a lot of fun. And if you're here on YouTube or on one of the other platforms, watch the replay on YouTube. The time codes will be added after the stream, so that way you can hop to the part of the video that brings you the most value. So great question, Vaughn. As I'm thinking about tomorrow, so I'm playing around with right now what I want my Monday to Thursday to look like. I'm at a point with my story, Last Scarecrow, where I'm like, I want to get through the end of the story. So over the course of the next couple weeks, I'm probably going to be doing more consistent writing stream based streams. So I'll let you guys know for tomorrow's episode, I will be airing at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, 2, 3, 4, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'll be back tomorrow late afternoon for a Write With Me stream where I will just we'll do writing sprints with some fantasy music, and it'll be super chill. And I'll post up my schedule for next week on the community tab of my YouTube channel, or you can find it on Facebook, on Twitch, on my website. I'll post my schedule shortly. So come join us tomorrow for another episode. Today we had an absolutely great stream. Thank you all for being involved in the comments. Thank you all for joining the conversation. That was a lot of fun and a really, really great stream to boot. And another great and fun episode of the Creative Right Now podcast. So awesome. And let's see, make sure I got that. And that, my friends, is all that I got for you today. Make sure and don't forget that words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.